So, how about that Romney?
Wow. He's all different than the other candidate.
Greg, I met Greg for drinks before the show, and I said, is there anything you want to talk about? He said, just no politics. Not because he's not a political person, quite the contrary, because he's... You must be like he has a podcast of his own, and so he's either exhausted from the previous one at this time of year or gearing up for another screed.
Greg, if you could, like a la Dungeons and Dragons, create a presidential candidate, like a mystical character, what would your presidential candidate be?
First, his power would be fudge. Because no one doesn't like fudge. Secondly, he would raise the dark cloud that has been visited upon this land and replace it with one of menthol so that we could all breathe freely. Thirdly, those who are in want would suddenly have the succor that they need and would be able to drink from a cornucopia of delicious peach-scented beverages that would provide all the nutrients they needed. And lastly, healthcare.
That's separate from Succor.
Oh, no, Succor is delicious, but it's not healthcare.
Universal Succor we will all receive. And also
wouldn't that be great if a candidate promised universal Succor?
He just dodged the issue then. Everyone would talk about healthcare, but he's like, no, Succor.
Yeah.
That you get. And he just kind of threaded that needle and won. Succor is fine. And so, like, I'm not saying we should socialize medicine. I'm saying we should socialize Succor.
Yeah.
You're promising fudge, Succor, and the pursuit of happiness.
I think the pursuit of happiness is misleading because no one really knows. There's no consensus on happiness. Like,
some people are happy when they're shooting people in the face.
Exactly. If you're a Republican, if there's a bunch of ugly people in a room screaming and shit, you're like, fuck, this is awesome. And then if you're not, you're like, fuck, this is scary. So that's where I come down. This crowd, of course, has been living on D&D and comic books, so they don't know what I'm talking about. There's an election this year.
That's where politics gets really complicated, though, is the basic fact that as primates, we all just want each other to like each other. And so sometimes it's very easy to just say, hey, whatever makes you happy. And then sometimes we have a very simple answer for exactly what we want and what makes us happy. And then sometimes the line gets very thin and very wide and very blurry because what we really want is for everybody to like us. And so sometimes the way you get people to like you is by being unhappy, for instance.
Yeah.
We all have friends in this room who are a little more comfortable depressed than they are joyful. Sometimes I feel that way. Like I'm like, it's kind of Munchausen syndrome where you're like, it could be better, and you feel the love come in, and that's how you get it. And I mean, obviously, like it's weird because we're monkeys. Monkeys just want monkeys to. The only thing that we know for sure is that monkeys don't want to be alone. That's the one thing that you can guarantee. I think I've ranted about this before. Is that like I saw this documentary about solitary confinement where they're like the most hard ass fuckers that eat people, and they're the most sociopathic, amoral, dysfunctional people. But you put them in solitary confinement, and they immediately act exactly the same way that your dad would act in solitary confinement, or anybody, or Mr. Rogers or Captain Kangaroo. They all act equally tortured and insane because being cut off from all other people is the only thing the only common denominator there is. None of us can handle it. There's all the different things that can go wrong with the human brain. There's no balloon animal you can twist in your skull that makes a human being get into being alone. And we're talking about a world where there's people who like to have shits taken on them, and they smile while it's happening. They're like, "This is great. Would you have chili? This is fantastic." But those people, along with everybody else, if you shut them off from society, if you send them off into the woods and say that they're dead to you, they will suffer the same pain as Jeffrey Dahmer and Bill Clinton and Mr. Rogers and anybody. And while that's the only I think can we start with that and go, okay, if that's the case, then we have something to go on here. We have like a Close Encounters, beep, boop, 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 like that we can build a language off of. That's our Tatanka, is the idea. Hey, well, you guy with the feathers coming out of your thing, and you pierced your cheek, and you don't speak the same language as me, and you have a completely different language, and like we all agree, like you hate it when you're alone, right? Yeah, I hate it when I'm alone too. Like, what's the scariest thing in the world? Your mom saying peekaboo but never coming back. Yeah, that's what everybody's afraid of. It's like mom covers her face and then her face disappears. And the first laugh you get is she goes peekaboo and she's back, and so you laugh. But like, God damn it! Well, what was my point? Mitt Romney should probably be president.
Yeah,
they probably you should like because like you said, like there are people in the world who are going to be in a room full of like horrible, disgusting, nasty people shouting "cut off his head" and money's better and drill baby drill, and they're going to be happy in that room. If you could hook them up to a polygraph and say, "Are you happy?" and I think that they'd pass it. Yeah. They'd go like, "Oh yeah, I'm feeling good tonight." But like, there's got to be a way to. I got nothing. I don't know. There's got to be a way to take them through that all the way into, yeah, but then there's no people. Then you're alone. Wouldn't that make you sad? And then they would fail that polygraph test. They wouldn't go, yeah, I'm having a good time here in an island by myself. Because that's the peak of capitalism too. Like that's what you do. Your house gets bigger, your yard gets bigger, the barbed wire gets taller. The richer you are, the more allowed you are to just go up to Xanadu and just hang out and not talk to anybody.
And be alone.
Yeah, and those people go fucking nuts. And then they run for president. And but anyways, Greg didn't want to talk about politics tonight, but I did. A couple of weeks ago, I did a little screed, and it wasn't really. I'm the laziest brain guy in the world, and I did a little screed about politics, and it was about the idea that I referred to Obama. I did the same thing. We'll edit it out.
Wow.
Their names are similar. There's one letter. I referred to the choice between Obama and Romney as the choice between Diet Pepsi and piss. Neither of them is water. Neither of them is what you need. But I ended that rant by on a base that might make some of these 25-year-olds think that I was like a libertarian or something, which is not. Not that either. That's not it. I'm just a big, fat, lazy, tired, sad, cynical fucker. And every 4 years I go and I pull the lever for the Democratic candidate just because I don't want to be part of anything bad that happens. But I resent the fact that that's why I'm pulling a lever, and I resent the implication that that's an act of revolution, because it's not. And nothing's ever going to change as long as we keep being convinced that that revolution happens behind a curtain booth. That's a scam in itself that we're buying. I think that things need to change a little more. I read that Al Gore is like getting into he's actually coming out and saying, fuck the Electoral College. We have to change it completely, right? We have to drop it.
12 years after the fact, but yes, he is. If he'd said it in 2000, it might have been a different matter.
We'd take it with a grain of salt, Al Gore. Yeah. But
he also likes massages quite a lot, is my understanding.
Yeah, poor guy. That's the curse. I remember the teachers in my school that all the students liked were always the ones that ended up getting in trouble for like hanky
smoking dope with him. Yeah.
That was always the big problem. The brush-cutted guy, the economics teacher and gym coach, like he never colored outside the lines.
No,
it was
the language arts teacher who smoked pot with the girls who got in trouble later.
But he would put your head through a window. Like he would go nuts. He would have a nervous breakdown.
And he didn't call you by your last name the whole time either.
Fascism. Sometimes it's the simpler choice.
Fascism, the simpler choice.
Stop thinking about it. Join us. It's easy to march. It's hard to walk to your own beat.